Yeah, blessed. This is Primitive, and this program is called Ratid. Ratid is taken from, the word raw, which is a legendary film by by the great Richard Pryor, and because of its raw content about his actual personal life. So I'm gonna go down that road too. I was asked to do a program on spirituality and positivity. So I'm gonna be speaking about my own personal life and things I've passed through, things I'm going through, and hopefully we can connect on that out there somewhere. Um, just gonna be straight up because like for go on no mulberry bush business. You know what I'm saying? That's for kids playing games and shit. So I'm just gonna spit real life, real talk, and real about real things. Um, but negativity does not help, you know, and positivity is always a plus. I mean, negativity, if you focus on that, you're just going, down a spiral into a hole that, we all know holes are not so easy to climb out of. And the deeper down the hole it is, the more difficult it is to climb out of that. So it's just focusing or refocusing, because basically, a lot of negativity comes from different things in your lives or different people in your lives at different times. But basically, it's just focusing on something that's not doing you any good. So, since we have a choice, and no matter what anybody says, everybody has a choice. You're making them all the time, consciously or unconsciously. That means you're making them knowingly that you're making them and accepting the consequences, or maybe you don't look at the consequences. But the whole thing about life is to look at the consequences of the choices that you make before you make the choices, because we all have this ability. Now, some people are just too damn lazy to use this ability to look at the consequences they're going to cause if they say a yes or they say a no. But if you don't look at these things and take charge of these things and make choices, all you'll be doing is pointing your finger at other people all your life saying, yeah, it's his fault or her fault, or their fault. But really, we all have a choice all the time, except about living or dying. And to some extent, we still have a choice with that because you can kill yourself if you want, or you can try at least. But, whether we live or die is not even up to us. It's up to a greater power. And that's something also that, you need to accept in reality to go forward, with positivity. Where can I begin? You need to do small things that are positive, and when you're confident in doing that small thing, time after time after time with no stress, then you move it the same concept to a larger thing. I mean, that's basically everything we do. For example, courage doesn't come overnight. If you don't, some people just come with that. Have a lot. They come with a lot of it. But most of us have to learn it. I mean, for example, me, I'm very afraid of big crowds. For example, I'm not shy to tell you that. When I first started recording, I remember saying to my brethren in Canada, in Toronto, that I don't mind recording, but I will never perform live because the idea of going on stage and performing frightened me to death, if you can even begin to understand that. And today, I'm singing in front of thousands of people sometimes, so and being on TV was a very frightening idea because, people all over the world can be watching your stuff. But, so you deal with that I had to deal with that just performing like in front of my friend, like, in the room. He had to turn his back for me to be able to open my mouth and sing a word. So, that's where I'm coming from, with about being afraid that I will sound terrible on whatever, negative. And I had to turn that all around. And today I do what I do. And I don't worry about who's out there or how many people are out there. Sure, I might feel a little nervous, but not in that sense. Like I'm paranoid. I know I sound good because I've been doing it long enough, and I know my voice is not the best, but it's not the worst. And I like my voice, and I like what I can do with my voice, And that's another thing. I mean, I accept my ability. I'm not, Michael Jackson or Prince or Lionel Richie. I am primitive, and I do what I do. And I don't try to do what the next man did, because I can't be the next man. I can be myself, though, and I can be great at myself. I can be the best at myself. So this is my motivation, That's for me a positive thing, is accepting who and what you are and what you are capable of, and go do it, because nobody can do it like you can do it. You are the original, There's millions of us on the planet, but every single one of us is original. Even if you're twins, you're still original. You're one of a kind. So that inspires me. I know, and I mean, nobody's going to determine for me that I'm good or that I'm bad at what I do. I don't give them that power. Because they don't have that power. Everybody's good at what they do if they want to be good at what they do. Practice makes perfect. So you're not going to get up overnight and be a great painter, get up overnight and be a great singer, or be a great whatever overnight. It's like being born a baby and taking baby steps, and before baby steps you have to crawl, and then baby steps and try to get a balance until you can walk, and so on. So, there are so many things in life that shows you the basic structure of life itself, like you start small and you grow. And with practice, you become perfect. Nothing works without practice, Even if you have these gifts, and some people come with abilities, but by working on their abilities, they become even better. So that's what positivity is. It's recognizing the fact that, we are humans that have abilities, and if we work on our abilities, we can do amazing things. I found out at an early age that I had an ability with communication, communicating with people by what I was doing, and how people were reacting towards me all the time, So I didn't even understand that really when I was a child, I was just doing what I was doing, just living my life, But at a certain age, much, much, much older, some people started to say to me, you have a special gift. I remember, I used to be a hairstylist many, many years ago, for many years, since I was 12 years old until later in life. And I had a client in Toronto, Canada, when I lived over there, who was much older businessman, retired, very wealthy. And for some reason, he liked me. He was drawn towards me, He wasn't even my client to begin with. He was my friend's client, but he liked me so much that we always used to talk, And when I went to open my own small salon, he decided to come with me for some reason, And I really liked him a lot, We had some serious talks. And one day he said to me, you have a gift, Primitive. I said, what's that? He says, you have this ability to communicate with everybody. You make everybody feel comfortable, So really? He said, yeah, you talk to everybody the same, And, this is something that I was doing without thinking about it. And we all have things that we do that we're good at, that we do that we don't really think about until maybe somebody points it out to you, And, that was positive for me. That helped me because I started to take a look at my life, looking back and how people reacted to me, behaved around me, and listen to me. Hairdressers and bartenders are human. They're psychiatrists that don't get paid for their jobs, as others do. That when you go lay on the couch, you pay hundreds of dollars or whatever, because these people listen to people night and day with many, many problems, and 90% of the time are able to give them some good advice, So I know for a fact that not anybody can be a barman or anyone can be a hairdresser, because you have to like people or love people, and you also have to want to help people, even if you're not aware of it consciously. But that's why you do these things. That's why there are things that pull you in the direction it pulls you, and you need to, we need to look into ourselves. I always tell people you need to go in to go out. You need to go internally, because we are all very complex. And we do a lot of things because we were taught to do them, or we grew up seeing them being done and adapted these principles. And that don't make them the only things that we can do or make them right. It just means that we've adapted these principles. So, for me, I've always had this personality to, after a certain time, I question things, everything, And I remember hearing people telling me from the Bible, there's an area in the Bible where it says, don't just believe and follow. You need to question everything, So I've always been this kind of person, because I do everything by feeling, I feel inside of me that I should or I shouldn't, and I totally trust what I feel now for some long, long time in my life, because I did experiments on my own self, and whenever I didn't listen to this voice, or whatever you want to call it, this feeling inside my deep, deep gut telling me, man, you need to do that, I would mess up. So after messing up enough times, I decided, you know what, screw that, I'm just going to go with what I'm feeling. Whatever the result is, I'm accepting it, because that has to be the best way, because it's not me thinking and deciding, it's a greater force. And I believe in the greater force, because no man didn't make the universe or the sun or the moon or the stars. I could go on and on, the trees and the rivers and the valleys and the mountains. Man can do things to them, but they didn't make them exist. They didn't bring them into existence. And that for me is the power, that it is what makes everything exist, and makes it function in order, in perfect order. So that to me is the work of the Creator, And I'm not going to tell you that, he's got long white hair and sits on the throne in the sky and all this old stuff, but there is a force out there, that's greater than all that you can imagine. You can't even imagine. We're supposed to be just using like one small area of our minds anyway. So can you imagine what we don't understand how to use, But so these are the things that you need to think about a little bit. 5 minutes a day, 1 minute a day. Don't just be caught up in your job and your bills. We all have them, and get weighed down and don't see all the other things in your life, like your children who are going to suffer because you're not giving them attention, because you're too busy thinking about your problems. You brought them into the world, so you have a responsibility to guide them and organize them until they get to that point where they can go off on their own and do their own things. Otherwise, I'm old-fashioned in that sense, and I don't believe in bringing children into the world and then just leaving them and running off and making more, and you don't care about them. To me, that's like very sad, you know. So, but that's my own personal trip, you know what I'm saying. So, but anyway, man, um, all these actions that you do in your life, consciously or unconsciously, will bring you down a positive path or a negative path. So, the idea is to always think about, we talk about every action brings a reaction. So I always like to see at least a part of what the reaction is going to be by my actions. Like, like this program, for example, I thought about it obviously. And I know that there's going to be people out there who might say, oh, he's just chatting a lot of rubbish, That's normal. There's going to be a lot of people out there who's going to relate to what I'm saying. And maybe one person out there is going to say, yo, yeah, this bro really helped me out, So, yeah, it's every action is going to have a reaction, So I'm aware of that. So everything I go into, I use this same example to check it and make a decision whether I will do it, because I will like the reaction that's going to come, or I won't like the reaction. That's why certain things that, I was raised not to steal, and I don't like the idea and the thought of stealing, because I can't cope with that after effect of taking something that's not mine, I feel all the time that someone's going to come for it, you know what I'm saying? So, or that somebody saw me take it or something. I remember one time when I was a kid at school in Jamaica, like, 7, 8 years old or something. I had this girlfriend whose family were very wealthy where I came from, and they had a huge bakery and sold comics and stuff, and I was a fanatic about comics. Obviously, I was a kid, And one day, she gave me a comic from the shop, and I don't know how long I went on, like, in sweating and worrying and paranoid that, somebody gonna find out she gave me a comic, So from an early age, I realized that, taking things that did not belong to me was not something that I was gonna do, because what comes with it, was not very positive for me. So, I never really went down that road, As an example, there's so many, everything in life is, life is a school, but we need to pay attention, I mean, it's like when you're in class, some kids are going to be very bright, some kids are going to be mediocre, and some kids are not going to know nothing. But everybody's in the same class. So how is that possible? Well, the ones who are bright are going to pay attention all the time, and they're going to check and study and work hard, and they're going to achieve what they know, And the other that don't do so much but work a little bit, they're going to be getting what they know. And the ones who just play around all the time and think it's a big joke and they don't give a shit, when the time comes, they don't know nothing. And in the end, so who they're going to blame? Oh, the teacher's fault? Or who, my friend's fault because he was playing? No, it's your own fault. You got to make the decision. So this is what positivity is all about, And for me, it goes hand in hand with spirituality. I believe in a greater force, a creator, because it makes sense to my mind, that humans create things, we create all kind of things. We're creating things like crazy, as a matter of fact, So if we can be creating things, and we were born into a world that existed, and we didn't make that world, so obviously it came created from somewhere, some force, some power. So, like I said, this is Primitive, and this program is called Ratid. Yeah, so listen to some cool Paul Horn in the background, and African brothers making my main thing, my favorite thing, my everything, music, It's what makes me strive to do everything I do. I don't know what I would do without music, So bless up Enough love. Jai Rastafari, live it itinerally. And we'll link up again soon. Yeah, man. That's how it go. Bless it.